Okay, now it should be working, I think. Can someone confirm that you can hear me now? And thanks for sticking with us while we're trying to fix this. Okay, good. All right. Is the audio okay? Is this not too loud? How are we doing? So give me some feedback, and we'll get right into it. Okay, all right. Looks like everything's good. Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys. All right. So, as I was saying, when nobody could hear me say this, it's hard to believe that we're getting toward the end of 2023, and we'll try to do another one in December. But it's crazy how quickly the year flew by, and there's a lot of interesting stuff that happened in the world of brands and trademarks. I'm sure, mostly in the world of brands, because we can see more and more trademarks being filed. We can see more and more entrepreneurs see the value of the brands. We can see more and more case studies where if you don't trademark your brand early enough, usually it means you're never going to have your brand. And more people figure this out, because what was forgivable even just a few years before is not forgivable now, because there's so many trademark trolls that all they do is they look out for brands that pop up there, all the startups that come up with new products, new services, new brand names, and they file for their trademarks, and then they go and attack. And it's not a great place to be when you've been building something up, you've been pouring your heart and soul into it, and turns out that one day you get the letter from somebody who is doing this just to get paid, and they say, hey, by the way, we have your trademark, and we see that you're infringing on our trademark. Right? They're never going to send you a note saying, by the way, we stole your brand. Right? What they're going to do is they're going to say, you're stealing our brand. We have a trademark, and we noticed that you have a startup that uses our trademark, and we demand that you immediately stop doing that and pay us the money. And their expectation, of course, is that you're going to be pissed off, and that you're going to say, wait a minute, this is mine. And the whole thing will end up in a long dispute until they say, well, by the way, if you want to buy this off of us, you can. It's just going to cost you a few $100,000, right? So that's the usual stuff, and we see more and more of this happening, and we see more and more entrepreneurs getting smarter about this, because you can't in this world, right? There's the growth of the number of trademark applications being filed year by year is staggering. A lot of those applications are being filed by, like I said, trademark trolls. A lot of them are from other countries, but that's how they make their money, right? And whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, whether it's moral or immoral, really is irrelevant to you as entrepreneurs. What you want is to make sure that the brand that you came up with is actually yours, because until you own it, it's not a brand. It's just a name or a picture that you like to be associated with you, nothing more. So I see that we have some questions coming in, and the idea behind this live is that everyone who's on, please, you're welcome to ask anything. Can be about trademarks, can be about entrepreneurship, can be about Trademark Factory, can be about the stuff that the challenges that I face, the company faces, as the stuff we learned. Could be about branding, marketing, sales, whatever the hell you want to ask. Could be about anything. Could be about our Christmas songs, which, by the way, every year Trademark Factory puts out a Christmas song. We've been doing this for years. We have a page for that, trademarkfactory.com/Xmas, right? So if you go there, you can listen to the old songs we've done, and we're actively recording a new one. So whatever you want to ask away. So we had a question from Mike Atkins. Is the government cracking down on frivolous trademark applications, businesses that try to trademark common words and phrases? Okay. Yes and no. So there's a few things. What the government is actively cracking down on is trademark applications that are being filed by the cheap trademarking firms that aren't actual firms. Because what a lot of them do is they pretend to file a trademark as if the actual trademark owner, the brand owner, is filing them, right? Because they're not allowed to. They're not law firms. They don't use attorneys. They don't have an attorney of record. So because they're not allowed to put their name as someone who's filing the application for the client, they have to say that the client is filing it themselves. And the interesting thing there is that the USPTO figured that out, and so they say it's not actually the brand owner who's filing this, it's those cheap trademarking websites that are, and they have canceled thousands upon thousands of trademark applications because of that, saying these were filed through entities that should not be dealing with trademarks. And so that's what they're cracking down on actively. The other thing really has been there forever, which is there are trademarks that are just not registrable. That's the basics of trademark law. Like you can't trademark generic trademarks. If you sell pencils, you can't trademark the word pencil. If you are an accountant, you can't trademark the word accounting. And that has been like I said, the basics of the trademark law forever, right? It's international. That's the whole idea of trademarks. You can't trademark something that's not trademarkable. Many countries would not allow you to trademark something that's descriptive. In U.S., there's an exception. You can get your merely descriptive trademarks to the supplemental register, but in most other countries, if the trademarks office considers the trademark to be descriptive, it won't go through, right? So from that perspective, yes, they're cracking down, and well, they're tightening the rules, because in the early days of trademarks, when there weren't so many applications being filed, and when there weren't so many businesses getting started every day, they were more forgiving, right? You could make case for, hey, this is not really descriptive. This is, this is suggestive. This has acquired distinctiveness. This and that. Now they want you to really work for it, which makes it even more important for business owners to get their trademarks done right. Because if you don't do it right the first time around, by the time you figure out that you have a problem, it's going to be too late. Someone will file a similar trademark, and usually refiling will fail as well. So, but yeah, last thing I want to say about common words and phrases is that it's not just about whether the word or phrase is common. It's also about what goods and services are covered by that phrase. So Apple, right, you can't find and a word that's more common than that, right? Yet it's a very strong and powerful trademark. And the reason is they don't sell apples, right? They sell phones, they sell iPads, they sell computers, they sell services. They have nothing to do with the fruit. That's why it's possible for them to trademark a common word. It's important to see how the two, the goods and services and the actual brand, go together to make sure that one is not descriptive or generic of the other. I hope that answers the question. All right, do we have more questions? Okay, we have a question from Justin Brokop. I'd like to ask you if I can trademark my last name, as in Brokop Consulting. Can I get, guys? I got to see this. I didn't see the end of the question. Thanks. All right. For example, Brokop Consulting, or if I can just trademark my last name as a brand. Okay. Different countries treat it differently. U.S. is more open. Canada, for example, is more restrictive on trademarking personal names. Usually when you add what the brand does, like Brokop Consulting, that should be trademarkable everywhere, as long as there are no other Brokop Consultings out there, right? Or something similar that had already been trademarked. Really, that's the question is how useful that is to you. And the answer is usually it is, right? And usually it is if you think there will be life to your business, life to your brand beyond you personally, right? So if the whole business is just one person, Justin, doing all the work, doing all the consulting, and there are no plans for Justin to grow beyond just one person providing the consultations, maybe at that point it's not that important for you to get a trademark. But as soon as you realize, hey, I'll probably have other people helping, I'll probably have other people who may be providing consultations under the big umbrella brand of Brokop Consulting, at that point, yeah, that becomes a brand that's worth trademarking, and better safe than sorry. Hope that answers that. As for Brokop Consulting versus just Brokop, I would probably go with Brokop Consulting because that's more trademarkable. As for the last name itself, maybe as a secondary mark. Probably I would, like, if budget permits it, I'd probably do both. That would give you the most flexibility, and really that's what strategy is all about, right? You want to, on the one hand, you want to be able to get as much protection as you can, but you also want to get as much flexibility as you can so that you can enforce your brand and you can grow and make it future-proof, right? So today it could be Brokop Consulting, and tomorrow it could be something else as well. So you having Brokop Consulting plus Brokop will allow you to expand your portfolio and grow from there. Okay. Question from Arkady. Would you recommend for a new business when starting a new brand in the coffee industry to go slow as an entrepreneur, or create a perfect foundation and find an investor right away? Okay, so really it depends on the industry, and a big chunk of it depends on how finance intensive it is. Right? If, like the previous question, right, the consulting, for example, right, that doesn't take a lot of money to start a company that does consulting, right? It takes money to learn the stuff that you're consulting on, but beyond that, it's a relatively low cost of entry. Now, with coffee, if you're planning to have restaurants, or you're planning to make coffee and sell it in packages, that requires more money. So that really depends on what the business is, and the more money intensive it is, the more likely you will be to have to look for investors. So if you think about this, I think the best example I can come up with is George Clooney with his Casamigos tequila venture. So what he did is he and his partners, they came up with the name Casamigos, and first thing they did is they trademarked the name. That was the first thing they ever did. Then the second thing they did is they went to Mexico, and they found a distillery that could do tequila that was good enough for them, that they were prepared to put their name to it. So there was a lot of their own money there, but they partnered up. So they used their money, they grew the brand to a certain degree, and then they sold the brand to Diageo for $1 billion. So that was their strategy then. They had obviously enough money to be able to market it, to promote it, to make it with their money. They had 3 partners, and that's how they did it. If you have no money at all, it will be tough for you to start a money-intensive business with no money, with no investors, obviously. So that's how we do it. But going slow, like today, really fast is the new big, as they say, right? The slower you go, the more likely it is that someone's going to see your business model. They're going to copy it. They're going to do the same thing as you do with just a lot more money, and it would be hard for you to win. So what I would say is that you may have a small test that confirms that the idea that you came up with is interesting to the market, that the market is willing to pay for it. Get a good case study out of it, protect the brand. If there's something else that's protectable, protect that as well. I don't know, maybe file for a patent if there's something unique about it. And then go look for investors and say, hey, we've got all the IP protected. We've got the market study that shows that people want this. These are our numbers. That's our team, and that's how you go and win. Okay, hope this answers the question. What else we got? Okay, we got a question from Jason Levinson. Curious what I need to do before I file to have a best shot of getting my company name successfully trademarked. Heard horror stories. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you asked, because filing is easy, right? A monkey can file your trademark. That's really what a lot of the cheap trademarking firms have been doing, because it's not difficult to file a trademark application. I guess that's where a lot of misconceptions come about, how you get your brand trademarked. The one thing you got to do before, and that's the secret sauce behind Trademark Factory's 99.3% rate of success, is you gotta do a proper trademark search. Not just a search of other brands. When I say trademark search, I mean get a trademark search with a registrability opinion. The opinion will have 2 parts to it. One is whether the brand is even trademarkable. Again, go back to the first question about, hey, can you trademark the personal name? Can you trademark common words, right? Maybe nobody bothered to trademark the word pencil for pencils because they know it's impossible. So if you do your own trademark search and you search pencil, you won't see any trademark applications filed for the word pencil. And you're like, okay, I can trademark pencil if I sell pencils. So the first thing, the first part of your registrability opinion would be whether the whole thing is even trademarkable without looking at other brands that were filed previously, right? We call it formalities, right? Whether it's generic, whether it's descriptive, whether it functions as a trademark, million other things. And the second part is, yes, go through the whole universe of trademark applications filed and pending and registered and see if there are any trademarks that are similar to yours. Because with trademarks, unlike domain names, they don't only look at identical matches, they also look at similarities, right? They call it likelihood of confusion. So with domain names, if you try to get a domain name, and it's taken, it's easy, right? You add number 1 to the end of it, or you do some misspelling, what people usually do, like they remove vowels from the name, and suddenly the domain name is registrable, right? Is available. Doesn't work that way with trademarks, because with trademarks, like I said, they look at similar ones as well. So the first step before you file, get a proper registrability opinion, and make sure that what you got is doable. And really, Trademark Factory has 2 ways that we can help you with that, and both of them are awesome. The main one is with all of our packages, is that once you move forward with Trademark Factory, you get the trademark search with registrability opinion included in the package. And if it's not doable, if the name you came up with doesn't work, or the logo that you came up with doesn't work, or the tagline you came up with doesn't work, then you can either get a full refund, get all your money back, and we can pretend that our conversation never happened, or you can do what most of our clients do, is you can throw at us additional options, additional brands to check. We're going to keep doing those searches, and we're going to keep preparing those opinions for you free of charge until you come up with a brand that you love and that we tell you is trademarkable. All right, so that's option number 1, and that's what most of our clients do. The other option that we recently came up with is if you are not ready to move forward with our main package, right? Our main package currently, end of November of 2023, is $2,600, right? If you're not ready for that, and by the way, we're very strongly considering raising our prices in 2024. So if you're on the fence about getting a trademark with Trademark Factory, now may be the time to do that. So the second option that we are offering now is you can just get the paid search, right? You just pay for the search. It's $299, and the advantage is, right, you just pay significantly less. The disadvantage is if it's not doable, then there's no refund. But if it is doable, if you do the search, if you decide to take that risk that if it's not trademarkable, then you're just gonna lose your $300. If it is trademarkable, then we can roll that $300 into the main package that you can buy from us. And as a favor to everyone who's on this live, if you're watching the recording of this live, what we can do for you is, instead of rolling in the $300, we're going to roll in twice that. So you pay $300, we do the search. If it's registrable, you can get $600 rolled into the main package for you. So again, the first option, I think, is better, because it gives you multiple kicks at the can in case your trademark, in case we find your brand problematic, right? But if you want to take that risk, take the shot, you want to start with a search, and if you think it's for sure going to go through, then that might save you a little bit of money. So either way, you go for it. The way to start, you go to trademarkfactory.com, you request your free call with our strategy advisors, and you tell them, that you heard about the offer, and you can take it from there. All right. I hope that answers the question. Yeah, and so in terms of horror stories, Jason, sorry, didn't cover that. There are horror stories, and the horror stories are that you file a trademark without really knowing if your brand is trademarkable. Then 6, 9, 12 months later, you get an office action from the trademarks office that says, by the way, this trademark application is denied because of this, and this. And then you're sitting looking at that trademark application, at that office action, and you realize you can't do much about it. And so you've wasted your money, you wasted your time, you've been trying to promote a brand that you can't own, you have to go back to the drawing board. That's really where the horror story is. I mean, no matter how much you pay for your trademark application, whether you go with a cheap firm, whether you go with us, the biggest expense, the biggest investment is not what you pay for trademarking in case your trademark gets denied. The biggest investment, the biggest loss of money is loss of opportunity, loss of time, right? All the money that you spend promoting a brand that you can't have. That's really where the horror stories come from. All right, let's move to the next question. Question from friend Christy, one of our early clients. Yes, I remember. I'm pleased to say Andrei helped me with my trademark 10 years ago. Thank you, friend. I found a YouTube video to use in my online course, and have reached out 2x to ask permission to use, but I have not received a response. What is my next step? Okay, so I'm just trying to understand what the question is. Okay, so if I understand it correctly, so you found a video and you want to use it in your online course. You reached out to them for permission twice, have not heard back from them. What's your next step? Well, they don't have an obligation to respond. Right? They don't have an obligation to get back to you and say yes or no. So without their permission, the question is, can you use it without their permission? Right? And that depends on how you use the video, how much of it you use. There are situations when your use of their video will be considered fair use or fair dealing in Canada. I know you're from Canada. There will be situations when you will be legally allowed to take a snippet of somebody else's work. So, and that's, by the way, copyright. That's not trademarks, right? So you'll be allowed to use a snippet of somebody else's work and use it in yours. You'll have to specify the name, the source where that came from, and you'll be limited to the amount of use, right? But that's risky, because you won't know if it's fair use or fair dealing or not until they sue you for copyright infringement and you make a case that, hey, by the way, I was allowed to do that by law. It's a very flexible category, and use common sense if you want to do it. By the way, you having reached out to them is good, right? If they say no and you use it after, that's a bad thing. So you reached out, you didn't hear back. If you use just a minimal amount to illustrate a point, that's usually fine. If you take the whole video and say, by the way, guys, there's this amazing video, I'm posting the whole thing, the whole 3 hours and 50 seconds, that's too much. So what the fair use, usually what they look at is a few things. First of all, they look at the percentage of how much you used versus how much was the whole. If you use a small snippet, that's usually okay. If you use the full thing, it's usually not okay. They also look at the purpose of use. Is it educational? Are you use it to make a point? Are you use it to illustrate a point? Are you using it to critique? Are you using it for something that has a legitimate reason why you're using it? That's usually forgivable. And the other one is whether there was a way for you to make the same point with something else without using their work without permission. So I hope that answers the question. Really, the whole intellectual property is all about risk management, right? It's all about, are they going to find out you have it in your course? If that's a factor, because if nobody knows that you use their video in your course, well, then it really doesn't matter all that much. But the bigger you get with your course, the higher the likelihood the higher the risk that they'll find out, and you want to make sure that you have your T's crossed and I's dotted. So be careful. What I would do is again, once again, consider how much and how extensive the use is. If you can limit it to something very, very small and illustrational, that's good, that's smart. And if not, if you really need to use a big chunk, then reach out again, and if you get their permission, use it, and if you don't, then don't. Okay, we've got a question from Selena Zinchuk. Thanks for the information. What if your brand is trademarked and someone tries to copy your best product and sell it online? What can we do? So, great question. So the product and the trademark are two completely different things, right? What trademarks protect is the name, the logo, the tagline. It's the stuff that separates your brand from everyone else's. So my best example is ketchup, right? You go to a supermarket, there'll be a shelf with ketchups. They all look the same. They taste the same. The difference is the brand, right? And that's the purpose of a trademark. The purpose of a trademark is to allow you to quickly find that Heinz ketchup and tell it apart from all the other ketchups that are out there, right? It's not that their ketchup is the most tasty, it's the most red, the most tomatoey. It's not about the formula. It's about the brand. So with your question, so yes, you have a trademark now. Somebody is copying the product. Are they copying the product with your brand? If they're using your brand without permission, right? If they're slapping your brand on their shitty product, then you have a case, right? Because that's passing off, that's trademark infringement. That's what trademarks are designed to protect you from. If what they're doing is they saw a product and they're like, oh, that's a great product. Who makes it? Selena makes it. She makes it under this, ABC brand. And they're like, we're not going to use ABC. We're not going to sell it as ABC. We're going to sell it as XYZ, but we're going to do essentially the same thing. So your trademark will not help you do anything about it, because that's not what trademarks are for. The way to protect that would have been maybe with a patent, maybe with copyright if it's work of original authorship, maybe with a know-how, but that's not what trademarks are for. So sorry to hear that. Really sucks when someone is trying to rip you off, when someone's copying you. Sometimes you can do things about it, sometimes you can't do anything about it, and really it all boils down to how quickly can you get enough of the market before people start copying you to establish your position. And really, it's funny enough. We're starting to notice more and more people trying to copy Trademark Factory offer, right? Most of them add conditions that make it similar to what Trademark Factory does, but not quite, right? They would not have unlimited responses, or not have unlimited searches, or not have the full guarantee. But we're starting to see people who are claiming that they look like they're offering what we are, and it's inevitable, right? From day one, when I started Trademark Factory, I've been started this channel. I've been saying that eventually we'll no longer be able to say, well, we're the only firm that does what we do, but we'll always be able to say we're the first, right? So I don't know how long those other guys will be able to offer what they do, because there's a lot of secret sauce that happens in the back end, which allows us to get to our 99.3% rate of success. But I look at it as something that's inevitable. Eventually someone will do exactly what we do. They maybe even eventually get pretty close to how we do it. But to me, what's important is that we do our best, is that we own the brand in multiple countries, and so that's cemented the great foundation for what Trademark Factory is today and what it will be tomorrow. All right, I hope that answers that. Yeah. Okay. Next question from Ray Plays Music. Hello, how can U.S. trademark trolls exist when they would need to have proof of using the very trademarks they're trolling? That's a great question, man. You're right. So in the U.S., your trademark will not be registered until you've until you've submitted evidence of use, until you've shown that your trademark, until you've shown that you're actually selling products or services under the brand you're trademarking. You're right, your trademark will not register, but you can file a trademark without it. And once it's filed, it's going to take about a year, maybe a year and a half, for the application to get allowed. And then you're supposed to either provide evidence of use, or you can request an extension of time. And you can do that multiple times. So every time you get 6 months extension, right? It does cost you a little bit, but if you are up against a big brand, or a brand that's about to become big, you can spend an extra $125 or whatever the extension of time costs to push them into negotiation, right? Yeah, your trademark won't register, but you can stall them being able to get that brand for about 3-4 years, right? And that's painful for someone who wants to have a legitimate ownership of their brand. So that's the thing, right? The trolls, they don't care about building the brand. The trolls care about the real brand owner to feel enough pain to give them the money for them to sell the trademark to the real company. That's how they operate, right? So, and most countries, U.S. is the only country that I know of that does require that you produce evidence of use. Most of them don't. So that's another thing, right? All right. So let's move to the next question. We got a question from NBA. Okay. What if by mistake we put our home address on a trademark application instead of our business address? How do we get the trademark office to remove our personal information? So you can't. I mean, you can provide the new address, and the new address will be shown in the current data, when you search for a trademark, people will see the current address. But if someone wanted to investigate and look at the original application, they would see the original address, and it's unfortunate. I guess unfortunate is the word, right? It's unfortunate that you can't clean that up, but that's how they operate, right? There's the disclaimer that they say, hey, by the way, this is the address that will be visible to the public, because once you file, that's public information, right? So you may have that amazing idea about your brand. It's private to you until you file your trademark. Once it's filed, all of that is seen by the public. That's the trade-off between the government giving you protection and you wanting to remain private. So it's, like I said, unfortunate, but there's nothing you can do once it's filed. But it is a good idea to change that to a different address. And that's another reason why sometimes you would prefer to file your trademark through your company, because then you're going to have your business address that you can use. Also in the US, you can actually have two addresses. One is your real address that you got to provide to the trademarks office, but you can also provide a secondary address, could be a PO box, that they will put for public purposes, right? So that's the minimum you can do. Basically say, change the address to this, and at least the vast majority of people who are going to find your trademark, they won't see your home address unless they really dig into all the old documents on the file. Okay, question from Make It Happen. My trademark is registered to my business. What happens if I change the name of my business? Nothing happens. So if you just change the name of your business, it's the same entity. And you still own your trademark as the asset of that entity. You can provide that change to the trademarks office. It's probably a good idea to do that. But it's not that once you change the name of the company, your trademark becomes invalid somehow. So from my personal story, right, I started this company as Mincov Law Corporation, and we existed under that brand for several years, since 2011 to 2015, I think. And then in 2015, I decided to stop doing anything other than trademarks. So we became Trademark Factory. So all the trademarks for the name Trademark Factory, I filed them as Mincov Law Corporation, right? Before we launched the website, before we had our first customer. Because to me, the name was super valuable. I didn't want someone to steal it. And so those were filed as Mincov Law Corporation. And then in 2015, we changed the name. I didn't run to the trademarks office and say, hey, by the way, we changed the name. They were still officially owned by Mincov Law Corporation. And then a few years later, when we did an inventory of our trademarking portfolio, we're like, oh, they still have our old name. So we did in Canada, it's free. It's called change of name because it's the same entity. And in the US, we pay like $40 for the assignment. And that's it. And again, in Canada, it's two different things: assignment to a different company or change your name to the same. In the US, to them it's the same, but it's an easy thing. The trademark stays alive, and you just got to keep it current. Okay, Question from True Serenity T. My trademark is allowed. Does it mean that I'm trademarked? Yes and no. We had that question before about trademark trolls, right? So you still have to prove to the trademarks office that you have use of your trademark, that you have use of your brand. So I'm assuming you make tea. Kind of wild guess, but I hope I'm right. So if that's so, then what you have to do is you have to take a couple of pictures of your tea, whether you sell it in bags or in boxes, and the bags or the boxes should carry your brand on them, right? Don't do mock-ups because they won't allow them. Do the actual picture of the actual thing and send it to them, and it's called statement of use. There will be, so if you, I'm assuming you're in the US, there will be $100 fee per class to turn your application from intent to use, which is what you filed it as, to use, and then it will register. Because the reason I'm assuming this is that in most other countries that don't have this use requirement, once your trademark is allowed, then the step to registration is automatic, right? All they do is like, okay, cool. Your brand survived the opposition period. Now it's allowed, and now we'll go straight to registration. So in the US, if you file your trademark under Section 1A, which means you already had use at the time when you filed your trademark, then it goes straight to registration. If you filed it as 1B, which is intent to use, then before it registers, you have to show them that you have use, send them those photographs, fill out a short application, and not application, it's a statement, it's a form that you fill out that shows you've got use, and then it registers. I don't see it off the top of my head. If we're handling your trademark, then obviously we'll take care of that form. All we need from you is the picture of the product. Okay. Got a question from Art of Headshots. That's another old friend of mine from Canada. I remember. Yeah, you have a trademark from us now, and so you're selling your company, and they want the trademark. How do I transfer to the name? Okay, so great question. And we recently had a testimonial from another client of ours. So we did her trademarks, and then she decided to wind down the business, and someone bought her brand for a good chunk of money. Multiple 5 figures, just for the right to the trademark, right? So she didn't sell them the products, she didn't sell them there's nothing tangible except for the transfer of the trademark. So the way you would do that, in fact, would be very similar to changing the name of the owner, right? So you would have a short, as far as I remember, we did a trademark in the US. All you have to do there is just show the very short agreement that says company A sells it to company B. They don't even need to know the numbers for how much you're selling it, and you register the assignment from one company to the other. It's a very simple thing. We can help you with that, and it has to be done. Obviously, if they're buying the name, and by the way, it's such a great name. I am really, 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 really happy that we were able to get it for you, right? To those who don't know, Art of Headshots, and that do beautiful photographs, really, really, really high quality service, and the name is great, and we're able to get that trademarked. So I'm not surprised that someone else wants to take over, and if they do, yeah, you just basically say, what you're selling to them. If you're selling the company, you're selling the company. So there's really actually two ways. So now that I think about it, if they buy the company and they continue to own your company, right? They're just going to have a different owner. Then the same company will keep the same trademark, right? So, for example, if I were to sell Trademark Factory as a company to, I don't know, Bob Smith, right? Then Bob would own Trademark Factory, and Trademark Factory would continue to own all the trademarks that it owns now, right? But if they wanted to kill the company and just own, get the software that we've built, the website, this, and they wanted to get it to a different company that would own it, then you would need to assign the trademark to make sure the new company owns it, right? So anyway, look, happy to help you and make this happen for you, and really, really excited to see that the brand is of value to you. That's cool. Okay, got a question from Feel Greater. If a trademark troll takes my brand, we got a lot of questions about trademark trolls today. That's interesting. Can they also take my domain name? If they can't take my domain name, is it true that all I have to do is change my logo? Okay, so that's a complicated chain of thought here. Okay, so if a trademark troll trademarks your brand, so let's say you have a domain name that say you got it in 2020, okay? You registered your domain name in 2020, and you've been doing something under that brand, on that website, under that domain name since 2020, right? Somebody else, a trademark troll, goes out and trademarks the same thing in 2023, and they send you demand letter saying, hey, we own the trademark, give us the domain name. In theory, they can't force you out of that domain name. But, and this is something we've used many times for our clients, the second you decide to sell that domain name, give it to someone else, the new owner, they can take it from them like this. If you don't have any active website on that domain name, you can't build it anymore because now they own the trademark. So you can't expand beyond the state you were in under that brand on the day when they file their trademark. And that limits you significantly, right? Changing the logo is nothing to do with it, right? Because if they trademark the name, they didn't trademark the logo. So so let me go back to the idea of domain name, forcing them out of the domain name. So what we've done before for some of our clients is, so there was someone with a trademark, and they saw that a domain name troll, really, they got the domain name. There was nothing on the domain name. There was no active website, just a parking page. And they were trying to sell the domain name to the highest bidder. And so what we said, look, there's nobody you can sell this to. Like, we know that you got the domain name before we got the trademark. We know that. Otherwise, we just use the UDRP procedure to take the domain name from you, which is another possibility. But because you registered the domain name first, we can't use it. But we also know that you can't do anything with this domain name. You can start a website that sells products similar to ours because we own the trademark. We know that you can't sell the domain name to anybody but us, because the second they own the domain name, their ownership of the domain name will come after we've already owned that trademark. So we'll take it from them, and they'll probably go after you for all the money that you took from them. So why don't you sell this domain name to us at a reasonable cost, and everyone lives happily ever after? And so we've done this several times, and yeah, they had to pay something, but it wasn't some ridiculous amount of money, because we said, look, you've got an asset that's unsellable. You're going to sit on it for what, right? We're offering you, a few $1,000s, and this way you can have a little bit of money, we can have our domain name, right? So that's about the dichotomy between trademarks and domain names. Now, if someone owns the trademark and you have the domain name, as long as you were there first, right, you can continue doing what you were doing under whatever logo you were having. But the other thing I wanted to mention is, like, all the big names that are known for their domain names, like Google or Facebook, there's a reason that they got their trademarks right away, right? They didn't say, hey, I have my domain name that's good enough to protect the brand. Like, nobody can take google.com. Well, who cares about trademarks, right? That's not how their thinking went. They trademarked their brand same month when they started the company. They started a domain name, same with Facebook, because they knew that domain names are great, but they don't give you the power to fight others. They don't give you the power to give you that legal monopoly over the brand. And so if you really value the brand, that's covered by your domain name, get a trademark, right? And that really eliminates all of the possible problems and questions like this. All right, let's move on to the next. Okay, I've got a question from Goddess Behavior. How is money made off a company? Guys, give me the time to read the question. Okay. How is money made off a company, intellectual property, trademarks, copyrights, etc.? Okay. There's a few ways. The first one is it gives you the monopoly on the marketplace. Nike is making a tremendous boatload of money off of the fact that they can slap the swoosh on an otherwise white t-shirt, and they know that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to pay more because of that swoosh, right? It's not that the quality of their t-shirts is significantly better than the quality of t-shirts without the swoosh. But people are willing to pay multiples, right? Another example. So I don't know if you saw the short that I did from Japan. They have salt. They sell regular table salt for I think, what is it, 86 yen or something like that. And they sell the exact same table salt in the exact same container, except the container has a wrapping with Hello Kitty on it, and they sell that for 300 yen. So it's almost 4x just for adding the brand to the product, to an otherwise completely generic product. Like, you can't find a more generic product than table salt, right? And they managed to make 4x out of that. So, and the reason they can is because no one else can, right? They're the only ones who have the license to use that brand. So that's one way you can make money, is by basically charging more for an otherwise generic product, because it carries the brand that people know, love, and trust. The other way you can make money is when you sell the company with its assets, because you're going to get more higher valuation from whoever is going to buy your company if you own things that allow you to have a monopoly on the marketplace, right? Plain and simple, right? The reason Nike's brand is worth, I think, $47 billion, and the whole company is worth like 90 something, is precisely because they trademarked it, right? So if they were to sell the company for whatever reason, right, the valuation of the brand is going to be the biggest line in why they're going to charge X amount of money versus something else. Because if they didn't all of their assets, if they didn't all of their trademarks, if they didn't own the swoosh, if they didn't own Just Do It, if they didn't own the word Nike, nobody would have paid them anywhere close to that. Yeah, they make great sneakers. Yeah, they have good T-shirts, but they're nowhere near as valuable as when they have the brand on them, right? And lastly, if you want to do franchise or license the brand, the reason McDonald's charges $1 million for anyone who wants to start a franchise is because they own the brand, is because they own the know-how, is because they have all those patents. If they didn't, if anyone could just start a McDonald's without asking McDonald's if they could start a McDonald's, they wouldn't be paying McDonald's $1 million to start a McDonald's. They just start a McDonald's without doing that, right? So that's really the value of building your intellectual property portfolio. And look, different businesses will have different extent, different degree of how much they want to build in terms of intellectual property. Some of them will be huge, like Amazon owns, I think, 1,300 trademarks in the US alone, right? Same with Apple. Again, they keep filing more and more, and they keep filing more and more patents because that's what allows them to preserve the monopoly. If all you do is, if all you do is something simple, I don't know, your digital marketing agency, right? All you do is you figured out how to help people attract customers, right? You got a system, you got a brand. Maybe you're gonna protect that. You're gonna trademark the name. You're gonna have some know-how on your process, but that's pretty much it. If you put together an app, maybe you protect that with copyright. But the more things you do, the more of them you want to protect. Hope that answers the question. Got a question from Philip. Did you ever dream of becoming a rock star drummer, or did you always want to be the trademark guy? Well, so if you see back there, that's the big massive drumstick. I got it at a fantasy drum camp several years ago. Got signed by Dave Weckl and Virgil Donati and Dave DeSenza and someone else, can't remember who. But I've loved drumming for a long time. By the way, if Zeke, can you post in the comments below the link to the video of the drum desk, right? The way I find it is go to YouTube and search for Andrei's Dream Drum Desk. Here you can actually see it. The desk that I'm sitting at is a hybrid between a fully functional double bass drum kit and an office desk that I have my monitors, my camera, and my laptop I work off of, right? So I have my sticks always nearby. I can play the drums. I can do this. Right? Just sitting here doing the live. And when I was growing up, of course, I never dreamed of becoming a trademarks guy. I wanted to be a rock star, and I still write music, and I still play the drums, still play the piano, and I still yearn, maybe like, one of that little boys dream of ever, sometimes maybe making it as a musician. But it's funny because, I realized that there were stages. There were stages in my life. There was a stage when I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just not good enough to be a professional musician. So maybe it's a good thing that I keep music as a hobby and have something that makes me money as a business that allows me to live in Dubai with my family, with my kids, and it's unlikely that I could have afforded the same lifestyle by being a drummer, because it's not easy to get a gig that pays you a lot of money. You have to be really, really, really good, and I'm decent on the drums. I think I write decent music, but whether it's up to the standard that would have gotten me to the point when it would when it would provide me the same money, probably not. But as I mentioned, different stages. It's funny because when we were starting out, so we had a band with my friends back in Russia. We played for many years, and we thought we were good. We thought we were good, and I wish someone really told us, guys, horrible, because nobody really could play. Funny enough, the guitarist and the vocalist, same guy, right? He's playing guitar and he's singing. He used to sing and play guitar in the band. He sent me a recording of a song that he did on vocals a couple of weeks ago, and that was the first time he recorded. And he kept taking vocal lessons over all these years. It was like 30 years or something, and for the first time, he actually sent me the recording of a song that didn't suck. It was actually good. It wasn't amazing, but it was good. And it's funny because my drumming has improved over the years significantly as well. So, if we took the craft seriously back then, if someone told us, if you want to actually get somewhere with this, you have to get significantly better. We just assume that rock and roll is all about having lots of fun and being loud and being obnoxious and and of course that didn't get us anywhere. So to answer your question, would I have preferred to be a rock star drummer than a trademarks guy? I don't know. It's a tough one. If I was guaranteed, hey, you're going to be playing the biggest bands and you're going to be real good at what you do, and then maybe. But short of that, look, I know my limitations. I know that the chances of that are almost non-existent. So let's put it that way. I took a safe path, but with that safe path, I took the rock star path in not being yet another lawyer who does the same thing everyone else does, the one who wears, a shirt, a tie, and just does everything a typical lawyer would do, right? I added the rock star in creating Trademark Factory because we created something that didn't exist before. I created something that is better than anything that existed before. And I created something that has helped thousands of entrepreneurs protect their brands the way that nobody could offer them before, right? So in a way, I think this lifestyle of me sitting in front of, of the symbols and me doing things the way that nobody else does, to me, that kind of gives me a little snippet of that dream that I had as a teenager of being a rock star. And our Christmas songs, I mentioned them already. The Christmas songs that we do every year, that also allows me to show off my music, my ability to play. And I think the place I'm in right now is where I want to be. If someone could wave a magic wand and give me the talent and the ability of Dave Weckl, or there's this new drummer who's been blowing YouTube off. It's just absolutely amazing. Estepario Siberiano, what he does on drums, I look at it, it's just pure insanity, right? It's like, it's inhuman. And he's done a bunch of videos where he's actually sitting there with his iPad showing the timer to show people that he's actually playing this in time, that it's not AI, that it's not sped up like 5x, that he's actually doing this. You look at that and you're like, this is just beyond human. This is so good. Or Dave Weckl, who's another big inspiration of mine, or Chris Coleman. There's so many amazing drummers out there. And like, to me, I like the idea that I can chat with them, I can follow them, I can jam with them once in a while, and that I can be home and jam to my stuff and do stuff that helps a bunch of people protect their brands. Sorry for the mumbling. You got me with that question. It's funny because I keep telling people, ask me stuff that goes beyond just trademarks, and the first question was beyond that. I just mumbled some stuff, but anyway, I'll get better at it. Okay, we got a question from Bradley Roundtree. If I say a name on your broadcast and they hear it, would it be all right for them to steal it? If I say a name on your broadcast and they hear it, would it be all right for you? Well, if you bring your brand to the world, whether it's on this broadcast or whether you put it out there on your website or you put it out there on your Facebook, it's out there. If it's not protected, then yes, anyone can steal it, and you're going to have a big problem trying to get it back. That's the reason all the big brands file their trademarks before they're announcing their new brand, right? Apple would never consider bringing a new product to market until they file the trademark. You look at, we have a bunch of videos in all different industries, like in music, in clothing, in education, in entertainment, like in sports, all of them. P90X, they file their trademark months, maybe years, I can't remember the exact number, before they launched the brand. Why'd they do it? Because they wanted to be able to safely promote the stuff, right? They wanted to know that nobody can take it away from them, right? They paid a little bit of money upfront to own the brand, and then they could safely go out there, build the product, get investment money, do the promotion, and do the proper launch. And when they did the launch, like they hoped it would work, but they didn't know. But they had enough belief in their product that it was worth for them to spend a little bit of money to get the trademark, right? So that's what everyone who knows what they're doing does now, right? First trademark, then go out there to the world. So if you haven't trademarked your brand, probably not a great idea to put it in public comments that, hey, I'm considering trademarking that, because that's really the category of entrepreneurs that trolls are looking for, right? Because they know you value your brand enough to probably do something about it. So if you are considering trademarking your brand, go to trademarkfactory.com, get on a free call with our strategy advisor, right? They'll help you get started. They'll answer all your questions. They'll help you figure out what needs done first, whether it's the name, whether it's a logo, all of those questions you can ask them for free, right? And with full certainty that they're not going to run away with your brand, right? Because that's you got all sorts of limitations that even if we wanted to steal your brand, we couldn't, but we don't. Really, the whole reason I started Trademark Factory, if you know my story, started because I got into law, into intellectual property law, because of my dad, who was a famous composer in Russia. And one day he caught a radio station who stole his music to make an ad out of his song. And I was in my law school back then, and he asked me to help him protect it. And that's really how I got into all this. And so to me, people who create something deserve to not have it stolen from them. That's the reason Trademark Factory exists. And I wanted to create a service that makes it really easy for brand owners to find someone they can trust, who knows, whose interests are aligned with theirs. Because with Trademark Factory, right, we want the same thing as you do. We want your trademark to go through as quickly as possible with as few problems as possible, because we have a flat fee and we have a 100% money back guarantee, right? So if your trademark gets complicated along the way, we're not making any money off of you, right? So we don't want that. The best clients for us, we file their trademark, it goes through without any issues. We have a pretty good margin on that, right? But the fact is, that's what you want as well. You want your trademark to be filed, go through as quickly as possible to registration. When you go to a law firm, their interests are totally different. Their interests are your trademark takes as long as humanly possible, with as many office actions as humanly possible, that they will heroically respond to, that they will write pages and pages and pages of internal memos and responses to the trademarks office that will take them hours upon hours upon hours. And eventually, if your trademarks goes through, great. And if it doesn't, well, you pay them for their time, not for results anyway. Right? So that's their business model, right? They have no financial incentive to get your trademarks done quickly. And when you look at the cheap trademarking firms, not trademarking firms, the websites, right? Then their model is even worse, because they don't even have attorneys of record assigned to your file. So all they do is they take your money, they file your trademark, and they're done, right? If you get an office action, so too bad, so sad. Now it's up to you to find an attorney who's going to fix it for you. And conveniently, they have relationships with some firms that they can refer you to, and then it's the same, fix it by the hour situation. So, like I said, the reason I'm bringing this up is don't ask questions about, hey, how do I protect my brand, and name the brand in public. That's not a good idea. Go to the Trademark Factory website and get on a free call with our guys. Okay, question from True Serenity T again. Are you protected once you're registered, or someone can still take it? Legally, you're protected. There can be people who are going to break the law, right? Believe it or not, there are people who do things that are unlawful. That's why we have courts. The trademark registration makes it significantly less likely that you'll have to go all the way to full trial against someone who's trying to steal your brand. So if you don't have a registered trademark and you see someone copying your brand and you send them a demand letter, cease and desist letter, first thing they'll do is they'll check if someone had trademarked it before, if you trademarked it before, actually. And if you haven't trademarked it before, they'll read it as, hey, they didn't bother to pay a couple of $1,000s to trademark that brand. There's no way in hell they're going to spend 50 to 100K to go after us in court, because that's how much it would take you without a registered trademark to prove that you own the brand, that they're passing off on it. It's really expensive, right? And if they see that you didn't do a simple step of getting it trademarked, the chances of you going after them in court are very low, so they're probably going to ignore that demand letter. If you do have a registered trademark, you have the certificate, and you send them a letter saying, hey, by the way, you're infringing on our trademark, it's a registered trademark, stop it immediately or we're going to go after you. First thing they're going to do, they're going to check, yep, they own the trademark. And once they see that, especially if it was filed, if it had an attorney of record, again, there's a reason I keep bringing up this idea about attorney of record. That's important because they'll see they paid someone to do their trademark. They got the trademark. Now they caught us stealing their trademark, and they send us the demand letter, and the demand letter better come from, on the letterhead of a law firm. And if it says, we're going to go after you, you better believe it, they're probably going to find a way to disappear and find a way to, not have to go to court for this, because they'll know that you'll probably do that. So can someone in theory still take it? Yes. The best example are all those counterfeit Louis Vuitton bags, right? They're out there. People still make fakes, but you are protected. If you want to go against people who make those bags, you can, and you're going to win. And companies like this have raids. They shut down factories that make the fake stuff. Can they shut down everybody? Probably not, but they're trying. Okay, another question from Goddess Behavior. Can the person that owns my domain name come and attempt to sue me for use of the name, even though my trademark has been filed? Okay, so you filed with Trademark Factory. Okay, thank you. And sorry, I mean, look, the more we grow, the harder it is for me to identify every client from the name. I'm trying though. So the older ones I remember because I was the one who started them, but the newer ones, it's getting more and more challenging. So the fact that you own the trademark is not actionable. You can, right? They can't sue you for getting a trademark. If you start selling products under the brand and somebody has a domain name, can they go after you? No, not unless they've developed such a big presence under their domain name with the same products that they can prove that you're passing off on their what's called common law trademark. The risk of that is very, very low unless you're knowingly stealing stuff that's well known but wasn't trademarked. But what that would require is for them to spend a lot of money on that common law passing off lawsuit. Will they do it? Depends really on how big you get with that trademark. So if all they had was a website or a domain name with a parking page that did nothing, or maybe they had, a website with 3 visitors per month, then the courts usually look at that very negatively, in the sense that, hey, if you valued that brand, you had the mechanism that's called get a freaking trademark, and you didn't, which shows that you didn't value that brand enough. So yeah, you had the domain name, woohoo, that's all you get. Usually that's not enough for them to establish that they've had a common law trademark, like basically an unregistered trademark. That's enough to force you out of your registered trademark. So that's kind of where things are. If they're big but didn't bother, and you thought, hey, that's a great name, let me steal it from them and become them by getting a trademark, then really you act as a trademark troll at that point. Can they go after you? Yes, but it's not going to be easy. And I hope that answers the question. I really hope that look, I gotta say this. I really hope that we didn't get a client who's deliberately trying to steal a brand from someone out there who's been building it up for years and just didn't know that they should have trademarked it. I really hope that's not your case, and something tells me it's not, because usually we don't get clients like this, especially I don't think we'd get them on this live, because I think I'm doing a pretty good job at telegraphing to people what our values are, and not stealing other people's stuff is one of them. All right.
Andrei.
Yeah.
By the way, the person who asked that question was from the experiment. She probably doesn't want to mention the website, but it is sendinurse.com, and it's empty.
Was that? What's the website?
The website is sendinurse.com, and it's empty. Okay.
Yeah. So I hope it wasn't loud enough to be heard over the microphone, Zeke, because I'm not in headphones. But so if there's nothing on the website, if somebody just got the domain name, there's nothing they can do. Owning the domain name is not use of a trademark. Doesn't establish any common law rights to the name. Something we always say, hey, getting a domain name is not the same as getting a trademark, and that's one of those cases. So, all right, we've got a new question from Guava Mango 39. Quite a name. All right, hello, I've been following you for the past 3 years. Thank you. And I think it's time to dive in and file. I agree. Will we have any specials before the end of the year? Will we have any specials before the end of the year? Nothing that I can think of. One thing that we can offer you, if you mentioned that you came from the live, is that if you have more than one, I don't know, maybe a name and a logo, or if you want to do one trademark in multiple countries, I don't know, U.S., Canada, for example, right? We can give you a pretty sweet deal on that. So just mention that you came from the live and that Andrei told you that you can do that. And really that's, again, since we're doing this in public, right, obviously I'm not going to limit this to just your question. So anyone who's listening to this, even if you're listening to the recording, mention that Andrei said on the live that you can get a special on multiple trademark deal, and our strategy advisors are going to give it to you. And by the way, again, thanks for following for 3 years. To me, that's to me, that's quite something. Because, I know that the topic of the channel is not the most exciting thing in the world. Right now, we're almost at 10,000. There were like 14 people left this morning. That was like till we finally hit 10,000 people. And, some days I'm like, why aren't we at 100,000? We're not millions of people. And I'm like, dude, you're doing stuff that's boring. That's very technical. That's you get almost 10,000 people who are following you with this. That's amazing. So when you say you followed me for 3 years, I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, let's move on. Okay, question from NMS. We had NBA, we had NMS. Okay, how do I know if I even need a patent? I have a product idea I'm scared to put out because of my product's components. However, I did not invent the components. Can I still get a patent? Okay, so disclaimer, I'm not a patent guy, right? I have general understanding of how patents work. I'm not a patent agent. I've never filed a single patent. My only personal experience with patents was when I invented a genius way to distribute books to lawyers when I was in my Canadian law school. And I thought, hey, that's great. Nobody's doing that. And I thought, I'm going to go get myself a patent and get rich. Selling the license to that patent to all of the big legal publishers. And I was about to spend a crap ton of money, I think like $25,000, which I did not have back then, on getting a patent with a big Canadian law firm. And then something like a big light bulb went in my head. Say, Andrei, what's the first thing you tell people to do when they should get trademarks? Get a search, right? So I found a company that does patent searches, and I've interviewed the guy from it, Kevin Prince of Quick Patents. We had a good interview on Kick-Ass Brand Show with him. So I found him and paid him like $500 to do a patent search on the stuff that I thought was my genius, unique idea. And he did a patent search and came up with a 90-page report that murdered my idea right there, right? It buried it, and as painful as it was, I'm grateful to this day that I didn't waste the $25K on the idea that would have never been trademarked. And so, to your question, you really want to talk to somebody who can do a patent search for you, because sometimes you can describe your invention in such a way that even if you're using known components, it's still patentable. And you may not be able to make the product out of someone else's patented components, but you can stop everyone else, right? And then there's all those cross-licensing opportunities that you can come up with. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on this question, because again, I'm not competent really to give you proper advice. But what I'm saying is, talk to someone who really can do a proper search, just to see if what you've come up with, if your product idea has this what's called inventive level, right? If it's not obvious, if it's useful, if it's new, to be patentable, right? And if it is patentable, it's probably a good idea to consider getting a patent, right? I recommend, Quick Patents. They're really, really cool on the searches. If for whatever reason you don't want to use them, you can send me an email, and I can recommend another firm. I'm not going to do that on this live, but we can. All right, what else we got? Question from Wendell Haskins. If I have a logo, brand name, and a tagline, do I need to trademark them together or individually, separately? Yeah, that's a great question. There's two ways to answer this. Let me start with this. If you had an unlimited budget, and if all of the three were fully trademarkable separately, then I say for sure go get them trademarked separately, because that would give you the strongest protection for each individual element, right? If you got a name, nobody can use the name or similar name. If you get a logo, then it will allow you to stop others from using the same logo or a similar logo. If you got a tagline, same thing, right? If you trademark them all together, then you're getting protection for the brand as a whole. You don't get protection for individual elements of that combined trademark. There are a few reasons you can get when it's a legitimate reason to get a combined mark. First reason is when you can't get individual elements. For example, you came up with a name, and the name is iffy. It could be descriptive, or it could be maybe too close to someone else's, and the way to overcome it is by combining it with a distinctive logo, right? That's one reason that's legitimate for you to move forward with a combined mark. The second legitimate reason is you have no money, and the only way you can protect something is by filing that one combined mark. One combined mark is better than nothing, right? Is better than no trademarks. I would say that if you were to get the name by itself, it's probably better than getting the combined mark, because that's going to give you more possibilities. Because the second you change your logo, if all you have is a combined mark, now you have a trademark that you no longer use, and that's under the risk of someone challenging your trademark for non-use, so they can cancel your trademark because you changed the logo, right? So that's the big downside of combined marks. So if you can get the name, I would say go get the name, don't get the combined mark. But if you really want to protect everything and you only have the money for one, it could be a legitimate way to do that, as long as you have full intentions of filing those separate trademarks soon, right? You want to file one combined mark and then maybe make some money with your product and then file for the 3 additional ones. That's a legitimate strategy. And the last reason, when it's legitimate reason to file for that combined mark, is when you already have your separate trademarks, but you also want the additional one when you have a specific layout that you want to protect, how you put the name next to the logo, right? The best example is the combined Nike swoosh trademark, right? So they have the Nike as a word mark, duh. They have the swoosh trademarked as a separate trademark. They have Nike, like in the slanted font, trademark by itself. And they also have the whole thing together when they have Nike and swoosh, because they form a single whole, right? And they've trademarked that, right? So that's a great example of when a combined trademark is exactly what you want to have as well, right? So it's in addition to everything else when there's a special layout that you want to protect. Okay? one last thing I'm going to mention. That's another reason you guys get on the call with a strategy advisor, because I can only give you general ideas, right, on this live stream, right? I can say, well, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, but I don't know what you have in mind. I haven't seen your brand. I haven't heard the name. I have no idea about what you're trying to do. When you get on a call with our strategy advisors, that's what they're there for. They're going to listen to your story. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions about your business, about what you're planning to do with it. They're going to ask you, okay, so what do you have? Do you have the name? Do you have the logo? Do you have a tagline? Do you have a combined market? Right? And they'll be able to help you prioritize. Because we know that you don't have an unlimited budget. Nobody has. Right? I used to work for a law firm. We actually did Nike's trademarks. It wasn't my firm, but I used to be a lawyer there. And they have limited budgets, right? They've got crap ton of money, but they still take priorities. What do you want to do first? What do you want to do second? And what can wait, right? So just because you're not Nike doesn't mean that you can't protect your brand. And so get on that call with a strategy advisor, and they'll be able to help you put those priorities in order. Okay. All right. Our chit chat chew. Can two products function under one brand? Hats Reconstruction and ABCR database under our chit chat chew is trademarks. Okay, so I'm hoping I understood the question. You can have as many products under one brand. Like that's really the difference, right? Apple has got quite a few products, right? They all have the Apple logo on them, right? And they all come under Apple. McDonald's sells a lot of stuff. Amazon, right? They all have different products under one brand, right? They have the umbrella brand. They also trademark specific product names, which sometimes is a good idea. But what you're going to have is you're going to have one umbrella brand, and in the trademark application, you're going to say this brand covers this product, and this product, and this product, and that product, right? So, McDonald's, burgers, fries, and drinks, it's all McDonald's, right? What you cannot do is you cannot file a single trademark application for multiple brands. That's not how it works, right? So as long as the name is the same, right? So our Chit Chat Chew, by the way, really memorable name. I don't know if it's real or, but really, really cool name. If you say, we do this and this and this and this, we reconstruct hats. I have no idea what that means. And we have a database, and we have a website that teaches people how to, find information about trademarks. And we do this, whatever it is you want, as long as it carries the brand or Chit Chat Chew on it, you can do that. But you cannot file a single trademark application that's going to say, well, I want this brand for this product, and I want this brand for that product, and I want this brand for this product. That requires 3 separate trademark applications. Okay, NMS. Also, are NDAs a good preliminary and enforceable when working with others, manufacturing, let alone competitors? So, NDA, non-disclosure agreement, only protects you, maybe, from the party who signed your NDA. That's it. So if you get someone to sign an NDA, you tell them something, and someone else independently figures it out, there's no protection. If they breach that NDA and go on YouTube live and say, you know what, NMS just told me something amazing. It's got this amazing idea, and we can do this and this and this, and it's out there, right? Your only recourse against the investor is to sue them for breach of contract, breach of that NDA. But if someone else listens to that live and implements the idea that the investor shared, you can't really do anything with them. You can go after the person who signed that NDA with you, right? So there is a time and place for NDAs. The important thing is you want to make sure that the whoever is signing your NDA's got the money, because if your NDA is signed by someone with no money and your only recourse is against them, right? You really can't do much, right? You're going to get a judgment against them for whatever you've lost as a result of them disclosing your information, but they got no money, right? So they're going to, if it's a tiny LLC, they're going to shut down the LLC or the corporate, whatever, right? The bigger the company, the more valuable that NDA becomes, because they know that if you catch them infringing on that NDA, they've got the assets to go after. So that's really what I'm going to say. And as for competitors, if they didn't sign that NDA, it doesn't bind them. It doesn't bind them. Manufacturing, yes. So if you go to a plant and say, hey, I want you to make this, you want the NDA, but here's the important thing about NDAs. What most people do with NDAs, they go to Google and they search non-disclosure agreement template, and they're going to find non-disclosure agreement template. And non-disclosure in its name presumes that all it protects you from is non-disclosure. Right? When you go to the plant and say, I want you to make this gadget, and I want you to sign the non-disclosure agreement, all they've promised you in that non-disclosure agreement is that they're not going to disclose the secrets around your product. It doesn't say that they can't make the same product for someone else. So you want to be very, very careful about the agreements that you sign. Agreements that you find yourself, right? That's one thing that traditional law firms are really good at, right? Is making sure that they can draft a contract that fits your particular situation. I usually, I usually say a lot of crap about traditional law firms in trademarks, and well-deserved, because their model is just obsolete in how they're doing things. But for contracts, you got to do that, right? Don't be your own lawyer. But if you intend on being your own lawyer, at least make sure that you're using a non-use and non-disclosure agreement. You want them to not use the stuff, the confidential information that you shared with them for anything other than the purpose of you paying them to manufacture the stuff that you've told them about. Okay? I don't know why my nose itches so bad. It's just crazy. In Russia, we actually have a saying that when your nose itches, it's a sign that you're about to get drunk soon. I wasn't planning to, but maybe I will reconsider. Okay. Uh, do we have a... Okay. True Wisdom TV. Hello, I live in Mexico. I started my brand, my logo here. I'm American, but I'm confused if I should trademark my design. Should I wait until I have my design ready to go and then trademark? Okay, we get this question all the time. And when I answer this question, people go like, that makes sense. So I'm going to do this exact same thing. So think about this. You find a designer, you pay a designer to create the perfect logo for you that reflects the name in it, that reflects the brand, and then you go to Trademark Factory, and the first thing, and you become a client, the first thing we do for you is we do a trademark search, and we tell you, whoops, the name that's reflected in this logo is actually taken by someone else. They've got a trademark they've owned for 4 years. And we say, we're starting to tell you, you really can't do much with this logo because it's probably going to get rejected. And then you're like, well, but I just spent $500 on this logo. And we're like, yeah, but it's not a logo that you can have. And then he's going to say, well, so what should I do? I said, well, you should come up with a different name, right? And so you're going to go back to the drawing board. You're going to come back with a new name. We're going to search the new name until you give us the name that will tell you, yep, this is it. It's a great name and it's trademarkable. And then you're going to go back to your designer and say, by the way, can you now do a logo for this? And the designer says, sure, another $500, right? So there's no good reason to wait until you have the logo, until you know that you can own the name. So I would, and either way, owning the trademark on the name is much more important than owning the trademark on the logo, because logos change and names almost never do, right? So how many iterations of logos do big brands have? Like the Burger Kings, Apple has had a few. Twitter has had a ton of them before they switched to X, right? So your logo will change, and the name will usually stay the same. So what we always recommend is start with a name. If you have the funds to do name and logo, great. Do both name and logo. And since I mentioned that we're going to give special deal if you go with multiple, right? Again, even then, don't wait until you have the logo. Start with a name, and if you come back with the logo design, within 2 weeks, I say 2 weeks after you get the first one, we're going to honor the special that we would have given you if you went with two at the same time. Okay, True Wisdom TV. So do you register the name on the design? I have an actual design, but if Gucci and Louis Vuitton can get knockoffs, I don't really have any protection. Look, Gucci and Louis Vuitton make so much freaking money on owning their trademark that the stuff they're losing on knockoffs is not very significant to them, right? A lot of the stuff that they do, I wouldn't say it's for show, it's to preserve the value of their brand for the real money, for the real buyers, for the real people who want to buy their franchises and set up their stores. So if you get to the point of your business when you're going to get knocked off universally in every country, you're going to get, those people trying to, offer your product like a knockoff of your product like this, it's not necessarily a bad sign, but it's only going to happen if you own the brand, if your brand has value. Nobody's going to knock off a worthless brand. And and you can't build anything but a worthless brand unless you own it. So it's kind of a, let me give you an analogy, maybe completely unrelated to trademarks, right? Let's say you're a guy, right? And let's say you're into women. So, right, if you're afraid that other guys are gonna, look and wink at your wife because she's beautiful, it's not a good enough reason for you to find the ugliest woman on the planet to be your wife, right? Because that's not how we do it, right? We want a beautiful wife. We know that other men are gonna, like her, and you just take measures to make sure that, that all they do is look. Let's put it that way. And so I think, it may not be a perfect analogy, but I think it's a good analogy, right? So don't punish your own brand out of fear that if it becomes successful, somebody may take a stab at it and knock it off, right? Do what's right for it, protect it, build your brand to be as big as you can. And yes, you're going to have to deal with, bad people, but the upside of you having built a great product, a great service under a great brand is going to be so much better than, you trying to stay small and irrelevant out of fear that, hey, I might get noticed and somebody may knock this off. And the other part of the question that I don't think I answered. So if your logo does not have a name on it, then that's fine, right? Then like swoosh is a perfect example, right? It doesn't have a name on it by itself. So that, of course, you need to have a finished, more or less finished image in order for us to be able to do a proper search. We did have a few clients who, I remember one of them very well, Tabita's or something. I can't remember the exact thing, but I remember she drew it on a freaking napkin, right? So she drew it on the napkin, and she took a picture on the phone. She sent it to us. We did a proper search, and we told her, you know what? Yeah, that's registrable. And we're like, you're not gonna file like this, are you? She says, of course not, right? So she then took it to the designer. The designer made a better version of that. Took him a couple of days, and then we filed the final proper version of that logo. So that's another possibility, right? So as long as it will have all the elements to it, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be final, right? We can do the search first, and if we confirm, yeah, it's doable, then you can get the designer to finalize it, and then we can file it for you. Okay. Question from Peter. Wow, we've been at it for 2 hours. Holy crap. Okay, question from Peter. Aha, I'm on video, and my son is about to say good night to me. All right, come on up. Say goodbye to people. Say hello.
Hello.
Good night. That's David. So, 1 a.m. You're supposed to be in bed about midnight. Why are you doing up at 1? What?
Mom told me I could go to bed 1 hour later.
Okay, all right. It's his cheat day. All right. Okay. Back to the question from Peter. Best way to break into the field as a trademark agent lawyer. I'm a relatively new call and would like to enter the field, albeit with no IP experience. There's always something you do for the first time, right? And I don't think my path was conventional, because I got into it, like I said, because of my dad, who was a famous composer, and when he asked me to represent him in court against that radio station that stole his music, I had no freaking idea about copyright. I didn't know anything, and I barely knew what copyright was. And so what I did back then is I got a bunch of books. I read them. The most important one was the commentary on the Copyright Act. So I read that to understand, what it's like. And here's the funny thing. It was 1996 when that happened, right? So no Google. You couldn't freaking search, how do you sue a radio station that stole your father's music? You had to figure this out on your own, basically. There was no sample notices of claim that you could download like this, right? There were no trademark applications that you could find like this. So back in the day, I read the books, filed a lawsuit, learned. I basically flew that plane as I built it, and then after we were able to win that lawsuit, it took me 2 years. Took that case all the way up to one level below the Supreme Court of Russia, which is pretty much as high as it gets. And then I got so passionate about the idea of helping initially him protect his stuff, but then really I realized there are other people whose music, whose videos, whose films, whose images are being ripped off. So that became my profession. And initially all I did was copyright, right? So I'm a copyright lawyer by training. And then when I moved to Canada in 2007, and I went back to law school because I had to. They didn't honor my Russian license. I realized, basically Canada doesn't give you a lot of opportunity as a copyright lawyer to make a living, right? Unless the U.S., there are very few lawsuits around copyright, right? And it's just not there's not enough work. And back in the day, I thought I'd just join a law firm as an employee, as an associate, right? And everyone kept telling me, if you want to do copyright, that's going to be a problem. And so I did get some experience with trademarks in Russia, where I started with the biggest law firm in the world, Baker McKenzie. This is where I did the work for Nike and all those other big names, mostly on the trademark licensing front, but not on trademark registration. So everyone kept telling me, hey, you may want to look into trademarks. And so I did it pretty much the same way. So I took a course at law school that covered that. And funny enough, on the last week before the exam, I realized that Canada did not use classes back in the day. Now it does, but back in the day it didn't. And I listened to the entire course assuming that it did. And so I raised my hand and so what about classes? And Canada doesn't use them. I'm like, oh. So I had to go back and re-listen to the whole course again. Well, not re-listen, but basically just reread the whole thing without my assumption that Canada would use classes. And then when I started Trademark Factory, because nobody would hire me in Canada for whatever reason, that's really how my entrepreneurial journey started, is that I couldn't get any law firm in Canada to hire me, even though I finished top of my class in half the courses and top 10 in the remaining half. Whether it was because I was too old, too Russian, or too crazy, I don't know. But I didn't secure a job, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because that's how my firm started, that went on to become Trademark Factory. So I realized, okay, I got to become a trademark agent. And so I remember this to this day. There was the concert by Soundgarden that I really wanted to go see. And next day I started preparing for the trademarks exam. And I would read, same thing, commentary to the Trademarks Act. I would read all the notices. There's another book about trademarks that I read, and that was good enough for me to pass the exam. And from there, it was just, doing your best and studying and filing trademarks. And I did it on my own. And really, to me, the the idea of offering a guarantee back in the day was a way to challenge myself also, right? Because I wanted to make sure that, I can prove to clients that, hey, this guy may be new in Canada, this guy may be new to trademarks, but he's guaranteeing the results. And the 99.3%, we had that from day one, right? The first time something didn't go through took several years when we got our first trademark that didn't go through. So, how you're going to play about this, I don't know. If you're new call and you're on your own, you might file your own trademarks. You may want to join a firm. There's lots of interesting opportunities out there, and if the question related to you exploring your options with Trademark Factory, I don't think YouTube Live is the right platform to discuss this. Let's put it that way. I'm sure you can find a way to reach us directly. All right, Zeke, before we move on, is there a lot of questions left?
No, we only have 2 more.
Okay, all right, we got 2 more, so let's finish those off, and let's call it a day. All right, we got another question from Mark Chachu. Does your brand protect your logo? Another question regarding the intent to use versus the opposite. I filed the app, however, I've been making a couple of dollars 7 years ago. What? I'm not sure about the second part of the question. So, does your brand protect your logo? So, if you file for the name only, it does not protect the logo to the extent of how it looks as an image, right? So it doesn't protect the graphical part of the logo. But if you use the name in a particular font, then that font, that would be protected, but also only just for the literal part of it. So if someone comes up with a look-alike that uses a completely different word in it, and you don't have a trademark on the logo, then that would not be trademarked, protected. So for example, think about this. So Nike, right? Again, how they, like the font they have, or forget Nike, Coca-Cola, right? They got their famous font for Coca-Cola logo, right? So if they didn't trademark the logo and all they had was just the name, Coca-Cola, as plain font, Times New Roman, right? And if somebody came up with a completely different name, Pepsi, and they used a similar font, they could get away with it had Coca-Cola not trademarked the logo with that font, right? And that's why they protected both, right? But if someone else wanted to say Coca-Cola in that same brand, in the same font, even if Coca-Cola hadn't trademarked the logo, because the copied name reflected the name that they did trademark, that would have been an infringement, right? So really, look, I understand the desire to minimize your investment in protecting the brand. It's reasonable, right? Because we're all business people, and there's always more we can trademark than we should trademark, especially when we're starting out, and especially when like we don't have an extra, $100,000 budget that you can just splurge on and trademark this, trademark that, trademark this, trademark that, right? So that becomes a question of what do we start with, and trademarks are very extremely fact specific, right? There's no universal rule about you only do the name and you don't, you only do logo after. Really depends on the name, really depends on the logo. It really depends on how trademarkable the name is. It really depends on how trademarkable the logo is. So, get on that call. Get on that call with a strategy advisor from Trademark Factory, and they'll help you with that. They'll help you set up the list of priorities. And one other thing we can do, I was going to say don't quote me on that, but do quote me on that when you talk to your strategy advisor. What we can do is when you move forward with a package, like for example our all-inclusive package, right, and you still not sure whether you want the name or the logo, but you know that you don't have the budget for both, right? So again, you can tell them, hey, Andrei said you're going to give me a special if I do two. Find out what that special is. And if you realize that you can't afford that even with the payment plans that we can offer you, right? Assuming you can't, right? Then tell them this. Andrei said that I can go with one, but you guys are going to do the search for both the name and the logo. And depending on what's trademarkable, the legal team will be able to suggest do this or do that, right? So you'll tell us there's no way that I can do two. That's fine. We'll still do the search for two of them. So you're going to pay for one, the other one we'll do as a courtesy. And once we have the report for two brands, if one of them is trademarkable, the other one isn't, that's an easy choice. If neither of them is trademarkable, that's also an easy choice because you have to go back to the drawing board. And if both of them are trademarkable and you can only afford one, then we'll be able to suggest which one you want to start with, and then you're going to have the other one in your client cabinet that will wait until you say, you know what, I'm ready. You're going to click a button that says, I'm ready to start with the second one now, and we'll just do that. Chris Ryan. I wonder if the same Chris Ryan that I know back from Vancouver many, many years ago, what kind of symbol is that? Kind do you usually play? So these are Sabian HHX. Let me take it out. So I got a couple here. Got this guy, right? That's my main crash, and then I got a really cool one. I'm gonna take it down because you can't see it. That's a holy one, right? That's also HXX from Sabian. Really cool sounding cymbal. And I can't play it anymore because it's like 1 a.m. here. But I can probably just do once. So that's the main crash. And that's the one with holes. All right, so I hope they don't deport me for that. And we've got the last question from Unlocked Summit. What's the best way to capitalize on a trademark on downloadable music or educational recordings? Now that I got to think about. So really depends on what you're doing with your downloadable music or educational recordings. So the purpose of a trademark is to allow you to have the monopoly over whatever it is that you do, right? Which allows you to stop competitors from copying you, which allows you to grow the value by just being out there and saying to the world, we do this, we're the best at it, and that's our brand. That's how you get brand recognition. The more brand recognition you get, the more customers you get. The more customers you get, the more money you get, the more you can grow, right? So that's one way to do it, or you sell the brand to someone else who is going to do the exact same thing, right? So that's really how you capitalize. You build something that people give a damn about. That's really what you do. Because look, simply getting a trademark is not going to give you much, right? It's very unlikely that you will come up with such a genius name that without any product, any service behind it will be worth very much. There might be a few out there, but very, very, very extremely rare. Usually you can come up with one idea, someone else can come up with a different idea that's going to be as good, just as good. So it's really not about just the piece of paper that your trademark is, but the stuff that you do under that brand. And that's really why, if you look at Trademarks Factory's website and you look at our mission is to help growth-minded entrepreneurs build amazing brands. Right? It's not about helping them register good trademarks, because a trademark is just a legal piece of paper that helps you do more with your brand. Right? You can't build an amazing brand without a trademark because you don't own the brand. Right? So a trademark is how we help you do that. But you building that brand, you coming up with a product that a lot of people want to buy, or a service that a lot of people want to use, or downloadable music that people want to listen to, or or educational recordings that people want to learn from, that's on you. You come up with something that doesn't suck. You come up with something that people are drawn to, people are going to share, and sharing, that's what brands are for, right? They're going to say, there's this brand that has these amazing educational recordings, go listen here, right? That's what brands are for. And you being able to own that trademark is how you can preserve the monopoly, making sure that nobody else are going to put their downloadable music or their educational recordings under the same name as yours. So I hope that answers your question. So I think with that, is this the longest live stream we've ever done, Zeke?
Yeah, it is.
Jesus, 220. Wow. And I didn't expect it to be this long, but that's what she said. Anyway, anybody who's stayed on from start to finish, really, really appreciate you. I really love doing these, and I really thank you for all the amazing questions you guys asked. And we're going to do something in December again. And one last thing I'm going to mention, if you've got a brand that you haven't trademarked yet, go talk to our strategy advisors, trademarkfactory.com. Click a big button that says book a call with a strategy advisor, or whatever the hell the button says. Free call, and the page is going to let you watch a video that explains what we do, how we do it, and it will allow you to pick a time with one of our strategy advisors who will, again, they'll listen to your story, they'll answer all your questions. If there's a good fit, they'll help you get started. And if there's not a good fit, at least you're going to get some value out of that conversation. So with that said, thank you again for being here. Love you all. See you next time.